Okay, so this is part 2. I'm going to go ahead and make my Y actor and my Z actor and set them up and animate them as well. So let's go ahead and do the Y actor. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Photoshop. Inside Photoshop, I'm going to do File New. I'm going to make my canvas settings 500 pixels wide, 500 pixels high, and the resolution is 150, so it's a little better than normal. Make sure it's pixels and not inches. Click on OK. Go ahead and zoom in. To zoom in and zoom out, I'm using the Command key, and I'm using Command minus to zoom out and Command plus to zoom in. Okay, so real simple. I'm going to come over here and get the text tool. Left click to place the cursor. And I'm going to go ahead and do okay, so there's my text. If you want to make any changes, you have to left click and select the text. Over here on the right hand side, you will see that you have a text layer. Here's the T, it tells you that it's a layer. Up here on the top, when you have the text tool activated, you have all the text tool controls. So I have the font here. Again, you can go ahead and choose whichever one you want. It's a little big. Okay, so find one that you like, and I'm going to go ahead and choose this one. And you can choose the font size. Just know that the font picker stops at 72, but you can type in here, and you can go ahead and say I can type in 90, and it'll do it. Let's see, last but not least, you can go ahead and pick a color with the color picker up here, and you pick your text color up here and not over here. Okay, I want to move my layer around, so I have to click on the Move tool, which is over here. Left click, drag it around, and that's pretty good. I want it to be a little bit bigger, so I have to go back to the text tool, come back over here, select it. There we go. So 100-point font. Move it around, and there we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do File Save now, and I'm going to save this as ytexture.psd. It has to be a Photoshop file. If your screen looks like this is okay, but it's better to get in the habit of expanding your window so you can actually see where you're going. You definitely want to get in the habit of saving all your textures inside your project folder because Blender needs to know where it's going to get all of its ingredients, or as Blender calls it, all of its assets. So I'm going to save my PSD version, and then that's my backup, my safety net. And then I'm going to come back up here and do File Save As, and I'm going to save it again, but this time I'm going to change the format to a PNG format, PNG, and that's what Blender prefers. So I'm going to save it as ytexture.png, hit save. It's going to give me these options. I'm going to click on OK, and that's it. Now I know for a fact I'm done in Photoshop, so I can go ahead and quit out of Photoshop and just get back into Blender. Okay, so now to bring it in, you have to have an add-on installed. So what I'm going to do, so let me first go ahead and, there we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to File, User Preferences. I'm going to come here to the Add-ons button, and I'm going to type in the word Images. And once you find Images, this is the add-on you want to install. Import images as planes. And you want to make sure this is checked on, and then make sure you click on Save User Settings. And you only have to do that once unless you upgrade to a new version of Blender or you change where you're sitting. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in the image of the Y. So I'm going to do Shift-C to center my texture, center my 3D cursor. I'm going to do Shift-A. I'm going to come here to Add Mesh, and at the very bottom, Images as Planes. It's now going to ask me to go find my project folder. So Desktop, Project XYZ. If you have multiple textures in here, you can come up here, and just like we did to the fonts, you can click on this third option here, and this is where you can actually see a preview of it, so that's really good. Okay, last but not least, there is a, down here in the bottom left-hand corner, there are settings for the images as planes feature. This isn't anything terribly fancy right now, so we're just going to leave it as is, but just know that they exist here. I'm going to go ahead and choose the ping version and click on import images as planes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and animate this. So the first thing I need to do is I need to stand it up. So I'm going to do RX90, and there it is. I'm going to go ahead and I'm on frame 1. That's really important. I'm going to go ahead and move it up on the Z-axis, and I'm going to go ahead and move it off to the left-hand side, so it's kind of in my upper left. And in my 3D window over here, you can see where it is. You can see it's still in front of my camera, even though it's off camera. And then I'm going to go ahead and move it back a little bit, so that way it's more behind the camera, because it's going to come out that way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, and this is frame 1. So I'm going to press I to insert keyframe, and think about the action that your actor is going to have, and my actor is going to be doing location changes, and it's going to be rotating at the same time. So I need to choose lock rot for this particular actor. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll save. Okay, so go back to MPEG Stream Clip, and okay, and again, hopefully I don't have the issue of where MPEG Stream Clip is lagging behind me. And again, I'm going to go ahead and do my best to approximate. If your frame numbers are a little bit different from what you're seeing me do, just use your best judgment, go off your dope sheet, and you'll be able to make changes throughout the whole process using the dope sheet editor so that it looks right to you. So this looks pretty good to me. I'm going to go ahead and say, there it is. Okay, so right about there where the Z is coming in, I'm going to say that's where it's out. And so if I bring this in and I see it's at 5 seconds and 6 frames, so I know that 5 seconds is frame 150. So I'm going to say at 156, and yours might be off by a couple frames, and that's totally fine. Okay, so I'm going to go down here in my timeline, go to frame 156, and I'm going to go ahead and bring my Y object in. Going to bring it back to the center, bring it back down so it's about center in the camera view, and then in my 3D view, I'm going to go ahead and bring it back on the Y-axis, just about there. And I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to press I to insert a keyframe, location, rotation, and I'll go ahead and save again. Okay, so now I'm just looking at the basic movement, and I can see that it's moving along fine. It has no rotation on it, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And before I do that, right now, if I leave it as it is right now, it just starts coming in. So I need to really find out on what frame does it actually start to show itself. And again, I think this is where my MPEG Stream Clip is acting up. Technology, I love it. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say I really think my screen recording software is really not liking MPEG Streamclip today. Okay, I apologize. What I'm gonna do, because this is happening now, is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna be approximating some things here. So I won't be necessarily telling you on what keyframe I'm doing things. You guys are going to go ahead and need to review your dope sheet and just kind of figure out where you want things to happen. So, okay, I'm going to have mine where the X is overlapping. So again, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and approximate here. I'm going to just close MPEG Streamclip, and I'm going to go ahead and open the XYZ render up in QuickTime now, because I think that's going to just play better overall for me. Okay, so sorry about this, everyone. Okay, so you can see that before the X comes off screen, it will go ahead and I can see that the Y object is coming on in. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set up the rotation now. Okay, so on frame 1, here is the setup. The Y is back there, no rotation. Okay, moving along a lot faster. Sorry about that, gang. Okay, so the easiest way to set up a rotation animation here is I'm going to come over here into one of my windows. I'm going to press the letter N, N as in number, and I'm going to scroll up to the top of this toolbar here, and you can see the location information and the rotation information. Right now, it says that my object is at 90 degrees rotated on the x-axis. I would like, and I'll explain later, I would like this to be set to 0. If I change this to 0 right now, it'll be lying down flat on its back, and I don't want that. So the workaround, and I'll explain this when I come back because it's a little bit technical, but the workaround for this is with the Y plane selected on your keyboard, press Control A, and this is called the apply function. And what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and choose rotation. And when you do that, you'll now notice that it's standing up straight and it says its rotation is 0. Okay? Alright. So on frame 1, it has 0 rotation. Whoops. You can see now on frame 1, it actually says it has 90 degrees rotation. So what I need to do is I need to come back to frame 1. I need to go ahead and press Control A to apply its rotation, and now it says 0. Okay. On frame 1, I now need to rotate it again, RX90, and I can see if you look at the X or the Y object, you can see that it's actually upside down. So I need to make that negative, so it's negative 90, and now it's upright. Okay, so negative 90, it's standing upright. Now I need to apply that rotation. So Control A, hit rotation, and now it's fine. Okay, now that I've made those changes, I need to re-keyframe those changes. So I'm going to press I, choose Lock Rot, and there we go. Okay, now when I go back to its last keyframe, which is frame 156, again I need to make those changes. So again, it's I'm going to do negative 90. Let's see if this fixes it. It does not. Okay, so I'll just do okay, so I'm going to type in 0 for its rotation. It's standing back up. I don't know if you guys can see, but it is standing up properly. Okay, so that's good. And I'm going to keyframe this. So I'm going to press I and Lock Rot. And it says 0 rotation, so there's no rotation that's been done on it. Okay, so just to be sure, I'll go ahead and watch it, and it's just moving through the scene. You can see in the camera view, and there it is. Okay. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to its last keyframe by clicking on this little button down here with the double triangles. And now I'm going to go ahead and type in, by the time it reaches frame 156, how many rotations should it have done? And I'm going to go ahead and say 3. So I'm going to type in 360, so 360 degrees, times, which is the asterisk key, 3, and hit return. And you'll see that that is 1080 frames, so 1080. And now that it's made that change, I'm going to go ahead and I need to re-keyframe it. So I'm going to press I, lock rot, and the big thing now is to see if it's actually flipping in the right direction. So I'm going to go ahead and go back, and if you see here, you'll see that it's actually flipping backwards here. So just like this happened in class, what I need to do is I need to change its total rotation. It's not positive 1080 degrees, it's negative 1080 degrees. And there we go. By simply doing that, you won't see any changes happening here. I need to re-keyframe, so I lock rot. Okay, and now when I do this, you'll see in both windows it is absolutely flipping the correct direction. Okay, to finish off this video, and I apologize, it got longer than I anticipated. I'm going to go ahead and press N to make this toolbar go away. Again, you can toggle it with N. Now to finish, the Y object comes in right about, it's actually not too bad. You can see where it's entering the screen. It enters the screen right about, looks like in the 50s, and that's where the X is here. So I could insert another keyframe if I wanted to make it hold up here a little bit longer. I'll show you what that looks like so you guys can decide. Right now, as soon as I press play, you'll notice in my 3D window, the Y object starts moving because that's what I've told it to. If you want to add in what's called a holding frame, you need to go to the dope editor and add in another keyframe. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to frame 1. I'm going to come to my camera view here, and I'm going to divide the window into 2 windows, and then I'm going to come here to the bottom left-hand corner of one of my windows, and I'm going to choose the dope sheet. Okay, so I know this is fairly crowded. Okay, so if I'm looking up here on the dope sheet, I'm going to make it look less complex. I'm going to come up here, let me zoom in, and right here on kind of this dark blue line here, I'm going to go ahead and click on the triangles here and just close them up. And I'm going to come out here where you see the keyframes. I'm going to press A to deselect them. I like doing that because I don't want to have anything selected. Also, you'll notice that if you're zoomed out, like I am right now, I'm zoomed out because I look down here at the bottom and it goes from frame 0 to 100 to 200 to 300. So those are frames, and that's a big jump. So I'm going to use my scroll wheel, and I'm going to hold down the middle mouse button to pan. So scroll wheel to zoom in, middle mouse button to pan, and I'm going to zoom in here. Okay, so you see that I have 2 objects. I have a Y texture and I have my text object. And I can select it here as well. So my X object is called text, which to me is a little general. So I want to change that. So the way you can change that is you can come right up here to the top right hand corner, and you can find where it is, and it's highlighted, and it's just called text. I'm going to double left click, and I'm going to go ahead and call this -X, and just hit return, and there you go. Okay, so that's numbered now. I'm going to go back and select my Y texture, my Y object. And you'll see that if you are zoomed out really far, really close keyframes will get bunched out. You'll see how these diamonds here now look like they're close, but as soon as I start zooming in, they will in fact separate, and you can see that they do have a couple of frames in between them. Okay, so if I'm looking on the Y texture here, you'll see this is its row. One thing that I think is a little confusing, or can be confusing to beginners is that there's a top row here called the summary, and that's always in orange. And it looks like you actually have 3 objects that have keyframes, and you don't. You only have 2. The summary is taking the summary of these 2 objects and visualizing it for you up here. And so if you come down here, there's a button that says summary. I like unchecking that. And now I have a nice clean view here. So I just see my 2 objects here. I just see their keyframes. It's a lot less confusing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and right-click and select the first keyframe for my Y object. It only has 2 keyframes. So if I zoom out, you'll see there they are. One right over here and one over here on frame 156. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to hold for a little while. So that holding keyframe, and here's how you do it. You right-click and select the keyframe that you want to duplicate, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to press Shift D as in duplicate, and I'm going to go ahead and move my mouse to the right, and you'll see that it's duplicating. It's making a copy, and I'm in grab mode, and it's moving off to the right. And so now, if I zoom out, I can now grab this keyframe and move it anywhere I want. So I'm going to press G, and I'm just going to grab it, and I can move it back and forth, left and right. So here's where I want it to go. I want it to really hold until X starts coming in. So right about here. So I'm looking down on my camera view. The X is over here on the left. I want it to hold right about to here. So I'm just going to press G, grab it, and move it right to here. And you'll see this orange bar here. And what that means is it means that there is no change between this keyframe here and this keyframe here. Okay? So you'll see now if you look in the 3D view, you'll see that it holds, 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 and then it's going to go ahead and start doing its action. Okay? So if you look down on the camera view now, you notice that as the X is going over there, it hasn't done it yet. So it's a little bit behind. So again, all I need to do is right click on this keyframe, press G, back it up a little bit, and as X starts coming through there, do I see the Y? And I'm still not seeing it. So I need to back it up a little bit. Okay, and so now I'm starting to get it here. Now you're starting to see that the X object is going off camera and the Y is now entering the scene. So I found kind of the right sort of sweet spot. You guys will have the advantage of having your dope sheet and probably having MPEG Streamclip work for you. Okay, so this is a long video. I'm going to go ahead and finish up. And in the next part, I'm going to make the Y object fade out, fade to black. And then I'll do the Z actor. Okay, I'll see you in the next part.